We are back, 2020 Democrats. I don't usually have a music intro, so it's kind of fun. Taking aim at each other. Michael Bloomberg not holding back with his attacks on his rivals. Watch this.
I watched and I said, we just can't have another 4 years of this. And then I watched all the candidates, and I just thought to myself, Donald Trump would eat him up. I give 100% of the money away. What's wrong with all of that? And then I turn and they're criticizing me for it. I don't know, ask them what they're doing. Why didn't they do that? They had a chance to go out and make a lot of money. And how much of their own money do they put into their campaigns?
And after this fiery exchange with a man at a town hall, Joe Biden is picking a new fight. Watch this.
You guys got it all wrong about what happened. It's just bad judgment. You all thought that what happened was the party moved extremely to the left after Hillary. AOC was the new party. She's a bright, wonderful person. But where's the party? Come on, man.
Come on, man. Come on, Jesse. This is interesting what we're seeing from Joe Biden this week. There's like a feistier Joe Biden. He's hitting back at the other 2020 candidates. He's saying, come on, man. He told that guy, what did he say to that guy? Get your facts straight, Jack. That kind of stuff.
Yeah. I think
How's that going?
Only Hunter had a more lively week than Joe. I think Biden tries to convince everybody when he says, come on, man, like that's going to explain everything.
Yes.
Like, we got to raise taxes. Come on, man. Like, that's it. But here's the thing. He's wrong about so many things, but he's right about this. Twitter is not where regular Americans are, especially regular Democrats, black, white, brown, with families, with cars, with jobs. They want to keep their health care. They want to keep their SUV. They want to keep their money. These people don't understand that, and then they come around and throw people like AOC, the Squad, the Green New Dealios, Liz Warren. They want to revolutionize America. They're not with that whole crowd, and that's pretty obvious, even to Sleepy Joe.
But wait. I would just say this to affirm what you just said. The fact that he's in the lead as the centrist is evidence that the left is not dominating even among the Democrats.
No, that's very true.
So you see a rise in the number of people who are self-identify among Democrats as liberal, but it's still the case that most Democrats self-identify as either moderate or conservative Democrats.
What do you think about Michael Bloomberg, though, Juan? Because, the feeling was at some point that if Joe Biden was in the race, there wasn't going to be room for Michael Bloomberg or Mr. Starbucks, Howard Schultz, thank you. So do you think there is now? And do you think people are looking for that alternative to Joe Biden?
But the thing is, Joe Biden hasn't faded, Martha. So the argument would be for Bloomberg, I'm electable. I can beat Trump. And by the way, he may be a very good candidate if you're just Bloomberg versus Trump. But his problem is he's got to get through the Democratic primaries. He needs a lane. And at the moment, the lane is occupied and successfully occupied by Joe Biden. The question for Mr. Bloomberg is, how do you say to voters, oh, yeah, I'm better for you than Joe Biden?
But, Juan, he's only at 19% nationally. That's very vulnerable.
No, we're not talking about Bloomberg. You mean Biden.
Biden's only at 19%.
That's fine.
I mean, that's easy pickings.
Yeah.
Well,
and
I don't think
Bloomberg
so.
is actually gaining some traction. I guess he's got nowhere to go but up.
Well, yeah, pretty close to traction at that age. I mean, this Democratic Party, who knew they are the party of grumpy old men. And you got to think about this. This isn't really about their candidates. It's about Trump. Trump is not that much different in age, but it's so obvious in terms of energy and spirit. There is a gulf. I mean, Trump isn't much younger, but he's like a diner cup of coffee, a bottomless energy. I was going to say something else, but I stopped. But if you compare people his age, look what he did to Robert De Niro, right? He turned him into a sputtering jackass. Biden pretends he's Clint Eastwood in Gran Torino, and it's kind of feeble, if you ask me. Bloomberg is Scrooge McDuck finally in pants. It's like I don't see how any of these guys are going to stand up to that kind of energy.
They're just going to challenge him to a push-up contest.
Yes. And what is with that?
I don't know.
What is with the masculine Joe?
I'm going to take him out behind the barn, and we're getting into a brawl, and now we're going to have a push-up contest.
Yeah.
Emily,
take off the shirt.
Don't do that. Don't do that.
About Medicare for all, and that may be the hill to die on for some of these candidates, because it looks like that's becoming very problematic, and that's I think what's going to help Michael Bloomberg as he moves forward here, and perhaps Biden.
Yeah, and I think what's interesting too is a lot of his messaging, which what we just saw on earlier, it's all about the Democratic candidate field, right? And it's why they're terrible, but not as quite yet why he's awesome, as you were pointing out. And contrast that along with Biden's message of the looming recession with the last Democrat to win the White House, with Obama's message, hope and change. And obviously, half half the country rolled their eyes, but it resonated clearly, and especially with Democrats. And I think that's why Mayor Pete is surging and resonating in Iowa, and New Hampshire, exactly, because it's that positive spin. But if he wins the primary, he's going to have to thread that needle, because obviously once we get past the primaries, the question is Trump or the different direction, but they have to start being a little bit more positive.
No, I agree with you. I think you cannot win with that. And you can't beat an incumbent without a huge positive message that galvanizes voters and makes them drawn to you.